For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain never stopped. The entire world disappeared beneath the waters. And then, silence. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. When the flood was finally over, Noah and his family stepped off the ark into a world where every neighbor, every childhood friend, every familiar face was gone. They were the only people left. How do you start over when everything around you has become a graveyard? Welcome back to One Chapter, 365 Days, your weekly companion through the Bible in 1 year. Today, we're exploring Genesis chapters 8 through 14. And let me tell you, this week's story moves from a rainbow of promise to a tower built on human pride to one man's simple act of faith that changes the course of history forever. Let's begin. The flood waters begin to recede. Noah sends out a raven. Then he sends a dove. The first time, the dove returns because it has nowhere to rest. But the second time, it comes back carrying an olive leaf. Imagine what that tiny leaf meant to 8 people who had spent months surrounded by endless water. It meant hope. It meant life. It meant God was making all things new. When Noah finally steps on dry ground, the very first thing he does is build an altar and worship God. He doesn't celebrate his survival first. He doesn't make plans for the future. He worships. Then God responds with a covenant, a promise unlike any before it. Never again will a flood destroy all life. As a sign of that promise, God places a rainbow in the sky. Every time you see a rainbow, remember this. It is a reminder of God's faithfulness, a visible sign that He always keeps His word. Yet, even after this fresh beginning, humanity stumbles again. Noah becomes drunk and Ham dishonors his father. It's a sobering reminder that a new beginning does not automatically create a new heart. As the story continues, Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, become the fathers of the nations. The earth begins to fill again as people spread across the world. But in chapter 11, everything changes. The people gather together with one language and one purpose. They say, "Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches the heavens so that we may make a name for ourselves." Notice what they never say. They never say, "Let's glorify God." Their goal isn't worship, it's self-glory. God comes down, sees what they are building, and confuses their language. Overnight, people can no longer understand one another. The project comes to a halt and the people scatter across the earth. That city becomes known as Babel, which means confusion. Because that is exactly what happens when human pride replaces dependence on God. Then, the story shifts in an entirely new direction. A man named Abram enters the scene. He's living comfortably in the prosperous city of Ur. He has a home, a family, and a future. Then God speaks. "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you." No map, no destination, no detailed plan. Just one command: go. And Abram obeys. God promises to make him into a great nation, to bless him, to make his name great, and through him to bless every family on earth. The very thing the builders of Babel tried to seize through their own effort, God freely gives to a man willing to trust him. Later, Abram and his nephew Lot become so wealthy that the land can no longer support both of them. Rather than argue, Abram allows Lot to choose first. Lot looks toward the fertile plains near Sodom and chooses what appears to be the better land. Abram accepts what is left. Immediately, God speaks again. "Lift up your eyes, everything you can see, north, south, east, and west. I am giving to you and your descendants. Lot chose by sight. Abram chose by faith. The crossroads looked the same, but the outcomes were completely different. The story closes with one of the Bible's most mysterious moments. After rescuing Lot from a coalition of kings, Abram meets Melchizedek, the king of Salem and priest of God Most High. Melchizedek blesses Abram, and Abram gives him a tenth of everything. A king of peace blessing the father of faith. A moment that continues to point readers toward God's greater plan. Now, let's step back and ask what these chapters are really teaching us. The turning point is Abram's calling. Up until this moment, humanity keeps repeating the same cycle. Sin, judgment, a new beginning, then more sin. But God begins something entirely new through Abram. A covenant built not on human achievement, but on divine promise. The story of redemption begins moving towards its ultimate fulfillment. These chapters also reveal something beautiful about God's character. First, God always keeps his promises. The rainbow isn't simply a beautiful display in the sky, it's a declaration of God's faithfulness. Second, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. Abram wasn't a king, he wasn't a prophet, he wasn't a priest. He was simply an ordinary man living an ordinary life until God called his name. And that's still how God works today. Finally, these chapters ask each of us one important question. Are you building a Babel or are you walking the road of Abraham?